What's up, everyone? Welcome into another edition of our NBA DFS DraftKings Picks videos. This one is for Friday, December 17th. I'm your host, Justin Bales, and we will be going over a larger slate on DraftKings tonight. There's a lot going down, a ridiculous amount of injury news. Obviously, the NBA is again struggling quite a bit with COVID. A lot of players have now been ruled out. The health and safety protocols are causing other guys to miss games. There's a ton to go over in terms of injury news. There's a lot of guys questionable. There's a lot of players that have already been ruled out. Teams are kind of dealing with it, which allows us to more or less just attack those teams moving forward in their specific games. Just again, a ton to go over. As always, if you enjoy these videos, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. You can subscribe to the channel. Use the comments below to ask any questions you have. There's so much news that I'm not going to be able to hit on literally everything, every good play. There's too many great options through all prices and stuff. So just go ahead and drop any questions or comments that you have below, and I'll try to get to them throughout the day. Now, also, we're kind of in this weird thing where this is recorded the night before by, 3, 4, 5 p.m. today, as you guys are watching this, the slate is going to have changed a ton. I would be willing to bet a bunch more guys get ruled out. A few guys probably that are going to change the slate on its head or turn the slate on its head. So go ahead and you can jump in our Discord for free, where we will be talking about everything that kind of happens. That's another thing where you can ask the questions below. I'll answer them to try to give you guys, up-to-date information that I can give. But chatdfs.com, the link is in the description below. You can get into our Discord where we're going over the injury news at all times. As it's breaking, we're posting it, kind of breaking down who benefits and all that kind of stuff. So I do think that is a really good tool that you guys should be using, and is completely free. Also free, dfskarma.com. We have articles. I post my game theory tomorrow. We also have premium articles. That's for the core play subscribers. Along with the premium articles, you'll get our projections. You'll get our core plays as well. And you will get into our premium Discord, which, kind of breaks everything down a little more in depth, goes over specific plays that we like, all that good stuff. So I guess that's the preface to this video. As we get into the slate, there are plenty of games, and that means that there's plenty of injury news. In the first game, you have Caleb Martin, Markieff Morris, Jimmy Butler, and Bam Adebayo all out for Miami. Tyler Hero and Omer Yurtseven are both questionable. On the other side, Markelle Fultz and Etuan Moore both continuing to miss time. Cole Anthony, Gary Harris, and Mo Bamba all questionable. JaMychal Green has already been ruled out for the next 2 games, I believe, for Denver. On the other side, Bogdan Bogdanovic will continue to miss time. Klay Thompson is nearing a return, but still a few games away, so he will be out. It looks like Josh Richardson is back, and he's going to play tonight. Jabari Parker will be the only guy missing for Boston. Milwaukee dealing with quite a bit of problems down there. Semi Ojeleye, Bobby Portis, Wesley Matthews, Dante DiVincenzo, and Giannis Antetokounmpo all ruled out. And then Thanasis Antetokounmpo is doubtful for this game. You have Lonnie Walker questionable for San Antonio. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but that is my cats playing with one of their little balls. So I apologize if you guys can hear that. They won't be long because they are relatively large cats that don't like to play for more than, a minute at a time. From Memphis, Zaire Williams, Sam Morrell, John Morant obviously still out. Brandon Clark also out for Sacramento. De'Aaron Fox is doubtful. Marvin Bagley and Terrence Davis have both been ruled out for the next few games, obviously. Rashawn Holmes and Alex Len also both doubtful. Meanwhile, Tyrese Halliburton and Chimezie Metu, both questionable. I actually believe that De'Aaron Fox tested positive. So I think they have him listed at doubtful to see if he produces negative tests, but I believe he's going to be out for this game. Someone would have to check that, but I believe that would be the case. LaMelo Ball is questionable, but he is tentatively expected to return from the COVID protocols. On the other side, CJ McCollum, Cody Zeller, both out. Tony Snell also out, but Snell doesn't really do much on the court besides eat minutes. And then Dennis Smith Jr. is questionable for Portland. Then you get to the Los Angeles Lakers, who Taylor Horton-Tucker, Trevor Ariza, Dwight Howard, Avery Bradley, and Russell Westbrook all ruled out. They did sign Isaiah Thomas. It looks like Malik Monk, Anthony Davis, and LeBron James will all play. So just a ridiculous amount of injury news that has already happened that kind of changes slates, but just a ton more that has yet to happen that, more or less could change everything that's going down. If Tyrese Halliburton's out, Davion Mitchell would be forced to play probably close to 40 minutes. Just stuff like that where there's a ton of really good plays all over the place. So I'll try to outline a few kind of in different price ranges. I'm not going to get to literally everyone that's even an elite play at this point because there's just so many of them, especially the cheaper options. So once again, if there's anyone that you're wondering about, go ahead, drop their name in the comments below. I'll let you know how I feel about them. At the top of point guard, it's tough because there's so many good options, and you have guys like Damian Lillard, who obviously is playing without CJ McCollum. He's down at 9,300, whereas it's almost 1,000 cheaper than Trae Young, who I prefer the way he's playing at the moment, but I probably slightly prefer Damian Lillard in the particular matchup against the Charlotte Hornets, especially without CJ McCollum. But Trae Young and Lillard are probably my two favorite up top there. As you move down a bit more, I mean, there's plenty of options for you to choose from. I think one that really sticks out for his price tag is Jordan Poole. I feel like he's priced more on his game against Indiana, where his shot just wasn't falling. He wasn't really doing anything else, and he scored less than 20 fantasy points. Outside of that, he's been consistently over 30. Gets a matchup against Boston, who struggle more against point guards than they do shooting guards. But, Jordan Poole could play a bit of time at point, not to mention Boston could just kind of treat him more like the point guard versus the shooting guard in just terms of the matchup that they give him as they try to put their better defenders on Stephen Curry. I wouldn't be shocked at all if that happens. So I do think that Poole is a bit too cheap at 5,700. And then, you can go all the way down to like guys like Malik Monk. He should get bigger minutes, but the guy that really sticks out is obviously going to be Davion Mitchell. 3,600. He played 29 minutes in his last game. He's been consistently over 20 fantasy points. So just kind of playing well. He can add steals at a high rate. He can score. He can add assists, especially if the ball's in his hand. And you're kind of just looking for what happens to the Sacramento guards. But looks like Davion Mitchell will be locked into bigger minutes in this game. Just makes him a really good option, especially for under 4,000. He's probably one of the better options on the slate. Moving to, I guess the other guy that I should mention, he's 7,900, Jrue Holiday. He dropped 55 in his last game. The big thing is that Chris Middleton should be back for this game. I believe he's probable. With that being said, Jrue Holiday gets a plus matchup against New Orleans. They don't really defend the paint overly well. And I'm not overly concerned with Chris Middleton taking so much away from Holiday that it's going to really destroy him because he's under 8,000. So I do think that Jrue Holiday is a really good option. At shooting guard, I don't necessarily love the top. I think if you want to use guys from Milwaukee, you can also just use Brandon Ingram. He's been playing well in his last two. Milwaukee generally is a good defense, but they're missing so many guys that I'm not overly concerned with their defense at this point. So I think that Brandon Ingram and getting to the top of shooting guard, or near the top of shooting guard, I guess LaMelo Ball is the top, is a really good option on this type of a slate. As you move down more, you have Jordan Poole here. You have guys like Pat Connaughton, who at 5,200, he's just going to be locked into big minutes. So it's not overly expensive for him. If Gary Harris or even really Cole Anthony is out, Terrence Ross, we know, comes with a ton of upside. He scored 40 in his last game. He scored over 30 in the one before that. I think he was at like 29 in the game before that. So I do think that that's fine. Grayson Allen, I probably don't go there. I do want to outline him though, because he's going to be locked into the bigger minutes for the Bucks. One of the big things about him, though, is that he, I believe, leads the NBA in wide open 3-point attempts. And obviously, a lot of that comes from Giannis. Without Giannis on the court, Allen has to create a shot a little bit more. So I actually think that that could hinder him a little bit more than it helps, the way that it would help some other guys, um, that kind of take on the larger role and do have the ability to create their own shots. And then at the very bottom of this, it's tough to know exactly what's going to happen because Malik Monk in their last game only played 18 minutes. But Wayne Ellington, I guess Malik Monk actually didn't even play in their last game. He was ruled out and he'll be back. So he should see the big minutes. I want to at least mention Wayne Ellington and Austin Reeves at the moment, though. Reeves has been playing bigger minutes, and then he just played 30 in his last one. He's only 3,300, scored 31 fantasy points. I feel like Monk is going to take more away from Wayne Ellington than he will Reeves. I am kind of 50-50 as to what's going to happen with Isaiah Thomas now signing there. But at the moment, I do believe that Reeves is a really solid option at only 3,300, especially against Minnesota on the slate. Moving to small forward, again, just not all that much I love at the top. I don't have any real issues. If you want to play someone like Jason Tatum, he's playing absolutely phenomenally in recent games. 50 plus in like 7 of his last 8 or something. I think he scored over 60 in his last game. And now he gets a matchup against Golden State that solid defense, but nothing I'm overly scared of, especially with someone that has the talent of Jason Tatum. So I do think that that's a really, really strong play there. Dylan Brooks at 6,300. He's finally putting it together a little bit more, 39 and 36 in his last 2. Before that, wasn't even playing all that bad. He had 29 and 27, and then obviously the 41 before that, but gets the plus matchup against the Sacramento Kings. I really wish that he was playing more shooting guard. He just really isn't at this point, and Desmond Bane and DeAnthony Melton both come with plenty of upside because of the matchup. But Dylan Brooks is kind of the guy that is really taking over a big role in the offense. That could continue once again tonight, and I'm not overly scared about the matchup against Sacramento. I think he actually played against them earlier, and he dropped well over 30 fantasy points in slightly over 20 minutes. Now, obviously, should be locked into significantly bigger minutes. So at 6,300, the price tag is just a little bit too cheap still. As you move down, there's a lot of guys that we kind of talked about at shooting guard that also can be used at small forward. Those are more or less the better options. I do think that you can use someone like Nasir Little, who's only 4,100 and does come with quite a bit of upside for the price tag. I do think that there are plenty of concerns about him. I don't necessarily think that he's a lock at the price. I do also really like Chuma Okeke. If Mo Bamba's out, he'll make a better play, but coming off of a 32-minute game, he didn't shoot well, and he scored less than 20 fantasy points, but he's only 3,600. I don't hate the matchup against Miami, just in terms of they have a lot of players that, or I guess they have a lot of players that are injured at the moment, not on the court, that kind of changed the game. Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo are the 2 big ones, but I do believe that Chuma Okeke is going to be, relatively fine option. But I much prefer him if Mo Bamba is ruled out. At power forward, you have both of the LA guys, LeBron James and Anthony Davis. I do think with Russell Westbrook out, both of them make really good options. They get a plus matchup against Minnesota. Minnesota's pretty bad against the center. They're not nearly as bad against the power forward, but Anthony Davis with Dwight Howard out should see plenty of minutes at the 5. So I think that's a really good spot. Then obviously LeBron James probably shifts to power forward. It's just that I don't really care all that much. I think that LeBron is more or less, a top option. He's not really, or I guess he's matchup proof. It doesn't matter who he plays against. He's going to get his. So I do really like LeBron there. With Charlotte getting healthier, Gordon Hayward becomes an interesting option. He's obviously going to lose some of the offensive appeal. He's taken over. I know he scored 41 real life points in his last game. He got a price Price decrease, though, a pretty big one. And we know that Portland's really bad against small forwards. So I do think that Gordon Hayward, even though we're talking about power forwards, he is small forward eligible. Really solid option just because the matchup is so good. And then you have Harrison Barnes at 5,700, still too cheap, should be locked into big minutes as Sacramento deals with, plenty of issues throughout their rotation at the moment, especially if guys like Metu are out, then Harrison Barnes becomes an even easier play at only 5,700. Moving down even farther, PJ Tucker at 4,500. I can't really believe that I'm saying that because it's PJ Tucker, and I don't know. I just never really use him. But been playing big minutes, and it's not like there's an abundance of power forwards really on the slate. I guess depending on what happens with the Memphis guys, you can look there. But PJ Tucker is a pretty solid salary relief option. At center, it's very clear if you're spending up, it's going to be on Nikola Jokic. He's the best fantasy option of literally anyone in the entire NBA. Just an elite play, gets a plus matchup against Atlanta. I'm not worried about that matchup whatsoever. On the other side, I do believe that you can play Clint Capella. I have no issues with that. But right under him is Yusuf Nurkic, who gets a matchup against the Charlotte Hornets, who are one of the worst teams in the NBA against centers. I do think that Nurkic is a very good option. Probably one of the top plays, but more for tournaments. He's not always locked into the big minutes, and he does foul quite a bit. So I just prefer Nurkic in tournaments to cash games, but he is a fine play at that price tag. As you move down more, there's a few options that you can at least consider. The one that really sticks out for under 5,000 is Steven Adams. He got back to 30 minutes in his last game. His minutes have been inconsistent, but if he gets them, he generally exceeds value. I have no problems with him under 5,000 against Sacramento, who dealing with injuries already is bad against the center. So really good play there. And then Larry Nance Jr., I don't have any issues whatsoever if you want to take your shot on him, but he's more of a tournament option, in my opinion. And then if you need to go to basically the bottom of this position, I would probably say the top option at the moment would be Tristan Thompson. He's only 3,800. Should see between 20 and 25 minutes, and we know that Memphis is really bad against opposing centers. So I do think that for the low price tag, Tristan Thompson makes sense. That about does it, though, for guys that I'm looking at the moment. There are tons of really good plays on this large of a slate with so much injury news. So if you have any questions, ask them in the comments. I will try to answer them all throughout the day, or get into our free Discord, chatdfs.com. Once again, that is in the description below. I would highly recommend that, as we're constantly going over how slates are changing and injury news and all that good stuff. But that about does it for tonight. Good luck. Hopefully everyone wins big on this slate, and we'll be back on